quick little heads up with this video, a lot of the footage you're seeing is probably not going to be from the movies, simply for copyright reasons. It's easier to use Earth's Mightiest Hero footage, so just keep that in mind. And as well, this is going to be a little bit more on the casual side, so if you're into that, welcome. If not, it's perfectly fine. Without further ado, hop into the video. The very first time on my channel that I ever decided to cover any sort of superhero media that involves movies or like TV shows and stuff, I chose to cover the Hulk and Captain America in the Ultimate Avengers movie, the very first one. It was just a short 10-minute video, but it blew up. It was my first ever taste of success on YouTube. And from that day forward, not only has Captain America, but more importantly and more so outstatedly, Hulk been a very important character to my channel and as well to my personal growth as a YouTuber. It's actually pretty funny because growing up, I was never huge into Hulk. Despite growing up in the era of Marvel pre-MCU where it was Hulk, Wolverine, and Spider-Man that dominated my childhood, I had fat heads of each one of those characters. Shout out if you remember what a fat head is. But Hulk never really piqued my interest growing up, probably because a lot of my early experiences with him were from the Ultimate Comics, and we know how that goes. So to me, Hulk was never truly that interesting, and it wasn't really until I started covering him for my channel that I started to find a deep appreciation for the character and a love for the character that I had never had previously to my channel. I found a level of depth to the Hulk that I enjoyed, and I started reading some of his more modern comic book runs. The Immortal Hulk has got to be one of my favorite modern day comic book runs that I've read in a long time. So to me, Hulk has become this very important character to me and to this channel. And so when I'm going back and rewatching through the MCU, watching its earlier phases and the movies involved with it, I can't help but notice just how dirty they did Hulk throughout the entirety of the MCU. I mean, it feels like the dude is an afterthought a lot of the times. And they had plans for him, but they could never properly execute. And it all, in my opinion, starts with his very first solo outing. 2008's Hulk was, oddly enough, originally planned to be a pseudo-sequel to 2003's Hulk movie made by Universal, until Marvel at least bought their way back into the rights for the movie, but Universal still owned the distribution. That is important for later. But this movie was originally supposed to be a sort of spiritual successor to 2003's Hulk with Eric Bana, but instead we ended up getting something completely new and different, seeing as Iron Man was also in production around the same time. Marvel wanted to launch their own cinematic universe. So they launched Iron Man and then they launched Hulk. Hulk had been partially rewritten by Edward Norton, even though he does not have writing credits on the film, but apparently it was also Edward Norton. As to the reason the filming session at least did not go super well. Edward Norton has always been known to be somewhat of a perfectionist in the industry, and there are always conflicting reports about either him being a grade A douchebag, or him being so in love and so impassioned he's just a method actor. Again, that's kind of up in the air for discussion and not really what this video is about. But plot and writing for the movie aside, honestly didn't think it was a terrible Hulk movie, but I just found it incredibly boring. They don't really challenge the notion of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. They don't play up on the idea of two entities sharing a same body. They don't play up on the idea of like what the 2003 movie did, was play up the idea of the Hulk being a separate personality to protect Bruce, something that was well coveted in the comics pre-2008. They don't play up on that idea at all. It is just a very basic Hulk movie. Banner's afraid of turning into the Hulk and wants to be with Betty Ross, escapes from the government. One thing I will say is, though, General Ross was very, very well played, and I'm glad they brought him back for Civil War. But pretty much the rest of the movie is pretty basic. I mean, you could try and draw parallels between not only Jablinski's want for Hulk's power and his lust for it as he continues throughout the movie, and Banner's repression and regression of the Hulk and not want for power, but I would honestly feel like I'd be grasping at straws because it almost feels like there's nothing there, nothing a whole lot of substance. Now that doesn't make it a bad movie. We do get some pretty great scenes of Savage Hulk. So if what you're looking for is just that no talking, no nonsense, pure anger rage ball, that's perfect. And in all honesty, I think that could have been a really good starting point for Hulk, because that is kind of where he starts in all reality. It takes Hulk a while for his personality to shine out more and to show him as being more intelligent, something we totally could have seen over multiple movies. But unfortunately, we will never get to see a sequel to that Hulk movie for a few reasons. Namely, one of them being that they needed to set up the next Avengers movie. Phase 1 was more about getting Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, the main key players, their own movies, so they could set up the big crossover Avengers movie. Yet, oddly enough, what we see with the first Avengers movie is the introduction of Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, which was definitely a shock to me, especially as a kid. I was really confused. But for reasons as stated before, because of creative differences and because apparently Edward Norton had made making the movie hell, they just decided to go in a different direction and hire a different actor. And it is in this movie that we get a little bit more into understanding Bruce Banner and Hulk, but honestly, again, it just feels lackluster, and I don't really blame them. Hulk had already had his own movie. They're trying to jam-pack at least 6 main Avengers into the movie, not to mention people like Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Agent Coulson. It was a jam-packed movie. Think about Loki too. Like, this was not the place to have Hulk do a whole character arc. So unfortunately, outside of a few nice dialogue exchanges with Natasha and trying to plant the seeds for some strange romance that never goes anywhere, Hulk pretty much is non-existent, and neither is Bruce Banner's character at all. I mean, we do get some nice lines referencing the 2011 movie, so it is technically still in canon, but there's nothing really worth note of talking about. It's just kind of, Hulk is still mindless and dumb, but we at least get the one cool line of the movie.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
And then he's pretty much relegated to like cameos and being mentioned in other movies until 2015's Age of Ultron, where I feel like they were actually trying to genuinely do something with Hulk, but it ultimately fell flat in a movie that is forgettable and everybody's least favorite Avengers movie. They really play up the angle of him and Natasha potentially getting together, even though her and Steve were like totally doing a thing in Winter Soldier, but that's besides the point. Hulk and Natasha were kind of feeling each other, but unfortunately, it ultimately goes nowhere. And what I thought was going to be really interesting and at the time was super excited for was at the end of the movie, Hulk gets sent on a plane out into nowhere. Sorry, he took the Quinjet out into the middle of nowhere. We have no idea where the Hulk is, but I remember that being rife with speculation that we would finally get Planet Hulk. Now, Planet Hulk is an entire story about Hulk going off to another planet. He's fully sentient, he is smart, he is amazing. I have an entire video talking about the movie, the animated movie, because I think it's wonderful and beautiful. It's the idea of the Illuminati, who is like Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, Namor, and a few others, all coming together to send Hulk away to another planet where he can be peaceful and calm and quiet, and he can be serene. Dude ends up landing on Sakaar instead, which is a war planet with a terrible ruler who likes to run gladiator-style battles for his slaves. And the entire story is all about Hulk not only learning to control his rage on his own, but suppress Bruce Banner completely. Hulk gets to spread his wings as his own personality and gets to be on a world that reveres him for his might and for his ability to protect them as a hero. Hulk isn't seen as this terrible villain, and that's something that was beautiful to read, and I loved watching it in the movie, even if what came after was extraordinarily sad. And so of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, alright, this is when we get another solo Hulk movie. This is the perfect time to do it. He's separated from the Avengers, he's all by himself. This could be perfect for a solo Hulk film. And that's where the issue of Universal owning the distribution rights to Hulk comes in. They still have the Hulk right at Universal for a reason. The dude is not allowed to be used in the movies outside of team-up movie. Like, he can't have his own solo movie because of the way the rights work are really weird. It's like Marvel has the ability to put him in team-up movies without having to converse with Universal, but if they want to give Hulk a solo film in live action, it has to be done through Universal's distribution hub, and Marvel and Disney, by extension, doesn't want to play nice with Universal in that regard. And so there's just this really big FU to everybody involved that wanted a Hulk movie. So we kind of got the next best thing, I guess, if you want to consider what we got in Thor Ragnarok the next best thing. I mean, Hulk for sure isn't terrible in that movie, and I loved the idea of finally giving Hulk himself some extra personality. I thought that was great. I thought it was wonderful. The Hulk can speak, even though he has the mind of a toddler, which I would have preferred him to be a lot smarter than that. He at least has been living on his own for the last 3 years and truly taking care of himself. But unfortunately, he more or less just gets reduced to jokes. It's all there for laughs, which is cool. Like, that's kind of Thor's gimmick in that movie. But and it's Thor's movie, right? I'm not expecting it to be a Hulk movie. But there's no emotional weight to it. We get to see Hulk develop a whole new personality. Banner's been repressed for years, and we get nothing. Nothing except for the Hulk getting to take over Banner's body and technically become an Asgardian, getting to live with them on their spaceship, at least until Infinity War, where Hulk pretty much gets bitched by Thanos, and the entire rest of Infinity War, he just doesn't appear anymore. Hulk's gone. He's scared or afraid. He just will not come out to play. Now, this would also be a great time post Infinity War, post Endgame, to really dig into Hulk as to why the Hulk, as a protective personality historically in comics, who is somebody who was built to shield Bruce Banner from the trauma of his childhood, refuses to come out and play after getting beaten so badly. No, instead, when Endgame does their time jump, they simply decide that the Hulk should just be Professor Hulk, which is essentially an entire comic book plotline in which Bruce Banner goes out of his way to splice his personality with Hulk to create one perfect union, Bruce Banner's mind inside of Hulk's body. We don't get to see any sort of natural progression of the character with that at all. We are just jumped from Hulk refusing to come out and play to him being Professor Hulk, which is really cool. The idea of Professor Hulk being on the big screen was something I could have never imagined, but it's super dope. It's a great idea. The execution is piss poor. We don't get to see it at all. We barely get passing mentions of it. It just happens because plot needs it to happen, which kind of just makes his sacrifice later in the movie, where he snaps his fingers to bring the Avengers back, bring all the blipped people back, feel a whole lot less weightless. He says he felt like he was made for this, and like he was destined for this portion, but it lacks emotional weight as a moment because we don't understand what he's been through at all. We have gotten passing glances at Hulk as though we are looking at him through a window occasionally. He's like a friend you see maybe once a year, twice if you're lucky, and you can really only glimpse at what their life looks like, comparatively to a lot of these other characters. Again, part of that is on Disney and by extension Marvel not wanting to play nice with Universal, and probably on Universal for not playing nice with Disney or Marvel. And it just ends up leading to a really sad and unsatisfying character for the rest of us to watch. And what I even find more interesting is Hulk appeared multiple times on the She-Hulk TV show. We could have seen a lot of different, Hulkisms through a show. We could have gotten a whole Hulk show, probably. I don't think Universal has any jurisdiction over that. But no, we don't have that at all. Instead, he appears in She-Hulk, and he pretty much just acts more or less like a mentor to She-Hulk. And so for the first few episodes, he's kind of just there. But when the dude comes back with his, he leaves for Sakaar, he comes back with a whole ass son. He comes back with his son that was made from when he was on Sakaar with his wife during Planet Hulk, the comic book. And how could you just, that is such a huge moment for Hulk as a character, especially in the MCU, when we have been told repeatedly, dude's not allowed to have any sort of intercourse with a woman simply because his heart rate would get too high and he'd turn into the Hulk. He has this discussion with Natasha. He has this discussion with Betty. This is a real ongoing thing. And so for him to have found somebody to have a kid with, and we get no explanation, and we don't even get to see the live action version of his wife, who is so important and integral to Hulk's growth as a character, I was beyond frustrated. I literally was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. And I just was like, they're never gonna do my boy Hulk justice. They're just not. I have been doing my rewatch of the MCU over the last year since I started this channel, because I wanted to talk about some of their adaptations of characters, and I figured Hulk being the first one I talk about would be really dope to do on the channel, because I started by talking about the Hulk, different versions of him. Every time I've spoken about the Hulk, historically, it's been a pretty big video, so you know, there's a little view incentive there, but the character is important to me. I enjoy talking about the Hulk. Any excuse to talk about him is great. I've been saving the 2003 Hulk movie for a reason. Yet, I sit here today, having watched all of the media Hulk has appeared in the MCU, and being left with absolutely nothing new to say other than sadness and criticism. When I look around at the other adaptations of Hulk, I look at somewhat masterclasses. When I watched 2008's animated movie, Planet Hulk, I felt like it was the greatest adaptation of the comic book they could probably get without going too graphic. I thought the movie adaptation was really well done. I thought it was great. I still love that movie to this day. I just got done covering him in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which might genuinely be his best adaptation ever. Hulk quite literally had his intelligence, had his split personality from Bruce Banner, had wants, needs, a reason to want to be himself, an internal conflict with Bruce Banner. It was also masterfully handled and wrapped up in a nice little bow by the end of the show. Then I look around at these other adaptations and I just wonder, how do you get it so wrong when this TV show that can't even dedicate an entire time to him was able to get it right? And I don't think it's for a lack of acting. I think Mark Ruffalo does a really good job, specifically in 2012's Avengers, of portraying Hulk. I thought he did a pretty decent job of doing so in Endgame as Professor Hulk. I really thought he fit Professor Hulk extremely well, especially in She-Hulk. I thought that he was giving good performances throughout each and every time he appeared. My problem was the material he was given and the time and somewhat lack of care Hulk was given, almost as though they only continued to keep using him because he was popular as a character outside of the MCU. The future for the character in the MCU, I think, is a little uncertain. I've rumblings of Hulk potentially getting his own solo movie again, maybe getting a Disney Plus show, but for the most part, at least on their official timeline, it's pretty much up in the air as to whether or not Hulk's going to receive any sort of content to himself. I was honestly and overall very disappointed. I wanted to go into this video with the hopes that the 2008 Hulk movie was interesting enough for me to break down and, you know, potentially cover the Hulk maybe one or two more times in the MCU and really break down and dig into the character, but they do nothing new that I haven't spoken about on this channel already. They don't do much of anything at all. I try my best to avoid watching other content creators' videos regarding characters that I want to cover, so that I am hopefully not overlapping with their ideas too much. But in this scenario, I wish I would have, because I really sit here with not much to say, as this is my birthday video. I planned this video a year ago to be my birthday video because I wanted to talk about the Hulk. And even in adaptations where I didn't think he had a lot to say, such as the Wolverine and Thor versus movies, I felt like I had more to say about the Hulk, but maybe that's because I was early into talking about the character. I mean, don't get me twisted. I really do enjoy the MCU, and there are a lot of projects in there that I enjoy. There are a lot of changes to characters that I enjoy, some I don't enjoy. But Hulk just happens to fall into that category of really not feeling it, and was really probably the main reason I wasn't super interested into him, like during my early teens, because I was watching those movies during my early and mid-teens, and he was just uninteresting to me, and that's probably why I wasn't interested in Hulk until I got here. I don't know. I hope any future adaptations of Hulk in the MCU really do try to pull from his Immortal Hulk run. I know they're in their Professor Hulk era right now, but if we could pull from Immortal Hulk's run on the character, the idea that the Hulk is this terrible, monstrous being once again, who is pulled from what is literally the depths of hell through the green door to take over Bruce Banner's body in the most disgusting, grotesque ways imaginable. Make it for adults, just like the comic book. And if we're being able to be given that Hulk, that image of him, potentially he's pissed off at Banner for merging their two consciousnesses without his approval and stifling his own ability to become intelligent, as we saw Hulk slowly breaking away as his own separate personality. That could be a really fun Disney Plus show. That could be a really fun movie. But the odds of us getting that in some sort of adaptation of Immortal Hulk's run is probably really, really slim, and might not even happen at all, with Universal still technically holding the movie rights to Hulk hostage and potentially the solo TV rights too. Their distribution thing is really weird, and I can only find so much online, and I'm not an executive, nor do I really know any insiders. Anyways, that's all I have to say on this topic, and I just want to take a moment to thank you all for watching and listening. 2024 has been an amazing year for my channel. I have seen the ability for me to take this channel and make it my full-time job. I have had the ability to have a flexible job throughout my college experience, which has been amazing. You guys have seen me through my ups and downs this year, whether or not I posted 10 videos in a month, or some months I posted 4 only, depending on my time. You guys have been there since the beginning of this year, pretty much. And I just want to say thank you all so much. This year on YouTube has been amazing. It has been everything I could have ever asked for out of my journey as a YouTuber. We're closing in on 30,000 subs, and if you had told me this in January when I was sitting in a high school classroom, ignoring my teachers and watching movies so I could talk about them when I got home at night, recording into my iPhone because I didn't have a proper mic yet, I don't know what I would have said, you know, to experience this level of success. And I can't thank you all enough. Alright, time for the YouTube thing. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you want to like the video, please leave a like. It helps out the channel a lot. If you dislike the video, please leave a dislike. And then leave a comment down below letting me know why, as constructive criticism helps me to make better videos for each and every one of you watching. As well, if you feel like you want to go the extra mile and support me even more, I do run a Patreon in which you can find each one of these videos completely unedited and early. As well, it's all for $1 a month, and if you join the $5 and above tier, you get shout out at the end of each and every one of my videos. So shout out Roderick Hare, shout out eSibrit13, shout out Gabriel LaFonte, shout out Transgers1, Video Gamer 75, Golden Boy 420, Dakota Rawson, Donovan Gomez, and MC Bomb 27. You all are amazing. Hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day.